was a fork truck
left,
being
turn
pushed
left.
on and off one of those great big supermarket lorries that you see going up and down the motorway. And then
left,
to our left, stretching right the way across this shed, are pallets and pallets and pallets of eggs.
So we're kind of at the beginning of the process. So this is where we have lorries unloading eggs from farms to be catalogued into the system in date order, so we can then process them through each of the graders. So we've got 2 graders in here. Our main grader, Lancelot, he's 16 lanes, and then our second grader, Stanley, who's 14 lanes, and they work pretty continuously packing eggs.
And how many farms are supplying you with eggs roughly?
So we're 56 farms at the moment. It's quite a leap from where we were about 18 months ago. We're very lucky and very fortunate to work with some brilliant family farmers.
Oh, another truck goes by. And are you still farming yourselves?
Yes, we've actually got a small flock of blue Ancunas on our farm at the moment.
And are they the ones that lay blue-shelled eggs?
Blue-shelled eggs, that's correct, yeah.
In
they're not the easiest birds to manage, they're quite quirky, and we're hoping to expand again with another poultry unit on our neighbouring farm hopefully in a few months' time. So yes, it's very exciting.
How important is it to you that you still keep, one welly boot still in farming, even though you have this big egg packing business now?
Oh, for me it's really important, just for my own sanity, because I'm a farmer born and bred, and I definitely need more than 1 foot in a welly boot, so I think it's really important. It's also really key for our team to be able to learn and share that journey and see how our farmers are handling things as well. So it's absolutely vital that we always keep farming. This is the home farm, Benton Wynn, which means pure spring in Cornish. And this is the farm that my grandparents bought back in 1967. This is where it all began. So, yeah.
The farm then is at the top of a valley with some ridges intersecting all around us, and the poultry houses tucked down in the valley a little bit. And we're looking across, I think, what might be an old orchard, is that right?
That's right, yes. So Grandpa used to have his greenhouse here and his little vegetable patch. And there's a little well on this side here. So it is a very, very old traditional Cornish farm.
Let's rewind a bit and talk about the origins of the business. How was it that your parents started to get into poultry in the first place?
Back in '67, when Grandpa bought this farm, Grandpa was actually a captain in the Navy and didn't know anything about farming at all, but Dad had decided this is absolutely what he wanted to do. And so while Grandpa was still working at Dartmouth Naval College, Granny and Dad started the dairy unit and grew a pedigree Jersey herd. Back in the kind of early 80s, the milk quota was challenging. Running a dairy was, unless you expand into great numbers, which we're a 70-acre farm here, it's got its limitations. So we looked at free-range poultry, which was, people were starting to think about buying local food, and there was a bit of a trend going on around that. So Dad converted one of our old Dutch barns into a poultry unit, and with 1,500 birds, and it actually made a profit. So right, we'll do that again, and off we went. So we ended up with 4 units. So there's this unit here, which is we built in 2004 now. Very much has been our kind of trial building for trialing different feeds and different breeds and all those sorts of things. The cows we sold just after foot and mouth, and they all went as a herd up to Cumbria to produce ice cream.
So that was in 2002?
Yes,
After foot and mouth in 2001.
Yes, that's right. We ended up with 1 packing centre, which was quick succession. The next packing centre to expand as we invested in some bigger kit. We were packing eggs until late into the evening along with my children, trying to get orders fulfilled, so we knew we had to scale up again. So yeah, we've grown, I think, very organically over time.
Where were you selling eggs at that stage?
When we first started our packing centre, we were lucky enough to start with Sainsbury's and Asda. We were just selling locally. They wanted eggs within a 30-mile radius, which we kind of knew most of that sea for us in Cornwall, so I knew we were going to be out of county quite quickly. I guess I wanted to have that brand adoration for the West Country, the coastline, and it was about telling that story of our origin, where we came from.
Lovely bit of Cornish rain. So you were always working with the big retailers from the outset then?
Yes, definitely. And that's, I don't know, there's a real buzz about seeing your brand on a shelf of a supermarket, and I've always been in awe of how people manage to get products to shelf, and the trials and tribulations that you go through to do that. And we'd done it, we were doing it, and it was like, bloody hell, this is great. And I still get that buzz now when I go into the supermarket and go and rearrange the shelves and tidy things up, and it's so nice. Yeah.
And yet the supermarkets have a bit of a bad rap when it comes to dealing sometimes with suppliers and farmers, but you've always seen them as the people you want to work with.
Well, I mean, ultimately they're our shop window. They have an equally tough job, you know, making the whole supply chain work and getting product to customers within dates. And no, I think it's all part of the process, and we're an integral part of that now. Yeah.
Yeah, you've always seen yourself on that kind of a stage.
Yes.
It seems to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, why not share the amazing things that our farmers, our hens, and our team can put together? And yeah, we're very proud to do that. We moved here in May 2022. We moved from our home farm. We had a little 9-lane grader, Guinevere, and it's the last week actually, the lane 9, the last lane went up in flames. We were really pushing her. Yeah, we had to move in. In fact, the building wasn't even finished, but the grader was in here. We're like, right, we've got to keep the wheels on.
And that must have been a huge investment.
Yes, we're really fortunate and managed to get the last round of the kind of RDP grant funding from Europe, and that really helped kind of propel the confidence in building this building. I was always very sure it was just a shed in the field, which is what it is. It's just a shed in the field. But what goes on in here is pretty epic, and it's allowed us to really galvanise some great working relationships with our customers and be able to build for the future.
I look at the scale of what's going on in here, and I think this looks huge.
In comparison to our competitors, we are pretty small, but that's fine. I have no ambitions of being the biggest, but I just want to be able to have the most beautiful eggs and that are enjoyed by a huge variety of people. This is where each individual farm is itemised and then packed, so we've got full traceability of each egg.
To the right of this production line, there's someone loading the trays of eggs on with a sort of hydraulic little forklift arm.
This is known as an easy lift. It's used with pressurised air in order to help lift 4 stacks of eggs onto the loader each time.
And the eggs go onto the conveyor belt that's running from right to left in front of us until the eggs get to the end of the line, where the arms of the machine come down and grab the egg trays and then lift them up over into the kind of bowels of the machine.
That's right. So it's rather like a dance. Basically, each tray is stacked in the opposite direction on top of each other. And so when you're unpacking them, the grader has to perform a sort of twisting dance in order to take each tray off. So it can be then the suckers can suck the eggs out and pop them onto the grader as gently as possible. And it's a very smooth process.
For such a large machine, it's quite delicate as well.
Yes, it is. But it has to be. It's dealing with precious eggs.
We've walked around the side of this grading line, and now we can see a tower which has got a blue flashing light. We can just see around the sides and the bottom.
Yes. So this process, once the eggs have been carefully put onto the conveyor belts, they're then run through an egg inspector. So this has got a bank of nearly 60 cameras inside it, and that's what the flashing is. It's taking lots of photographs of different angles and so on. But it's also mapping the eggs on this grader, you know, which line it's on, what number roller it's on. So each egg has its own kind of identity once it's hitting this grader. And the purpose for that is so that egg, if it is a second, or if it's a medium-sized egg or a large-sized egg, the grader will know where to put it. This is taking any feathers off, and then we're rolling along into the crack detection. So this is a bank of tiny little copper coils, and it's tapping each shell. And the higher pitch will mean that the shell is cracked. So it's all done with sound waves. Generally, we'll have a seconds line, so they will be earmarked to be stacked off in the trays as seconds. The next stage on this grader is our weighing system, literally weighing every egg to see whether it's an egg from a medium-sized box or a large-sized box or an extra large or small, and each lane is programmed to take whichever size packaging we've got on that lane at the time. The communication is going on at high speed with the number of eggs and the speed that's happening is phenomenal, and it's quite fun to watch. This is where we're pulling the egg along, and then there's a bank of printers that will spray the red line for British red line eggs and the best before date and the UK number onto that egg, and so we know, again, traceability wise, which farm it's come from. We've got our rich yolk eggs running through at the moment, and we've also got our medium rich yolk eggs going into our hospitality boxes.
Tell me a bit about why you decided to develop your own brands of egg within the St. brand.
I used to have a chicken. She used to live up at the house, Chuk Chuk, and she used to eat all the rose hips, and she would lay beautiful, deep red coloured yolky eggs. And really from then on, I've been, right, chickens are like sponges. They are amazing. So if you feed them super well, you can actually differentiate each product just by what you're feeding the hen. Our original egg is more of our kind of everyday egg. We have that in our blue boxes, and this is just a kind of more basic diet.
Probably basic diet for the chicken.
Yeah. But then we also do the rich yolk egg, which is a blend of different natural and nature identical pigments, and that really gives the egg that beautiful colour that the chefs love. We also feed a super egg. It's an algae-based product full of DHA, omega-3 and selenium as well. The way of differentiating each brand through feed is kind of our USP.
Just beyond where we're standing, Rex, there looks like a building site.
We've got our new warehouse going in there, so we're just changing the way we operate. And then under here, we're actually expanding our quality room because we're packing a lot more eggs, so obviously needs to do a lot more testing of finished products and goods in as well. We've decided to go for it, and we purchased a brand new pasteurizer, which can't wait to get started. So basically, any seconds grades eggs and Class A egg will be able to process.
So if you're manufacturing cakes or quiches or something, rather than cracking millions of eggs, you buy a carton or a bucket of ready cracked egg.
That's right, that's correct, yeah.
Does supplying liquid egg to food processors add value as well to your grade outs, to your second grade eggs? It gives them a market.
I think what it will do for our business is potentially be less reliant on just shell egg. You know, it gives us more options and more customers. So that's really the vital part about the pasteurisation project.
At the moment, we are just about within earshot of the hens, who are safely tucked away in a shed across this paddock, but they are not outside free ranging at the moment because of the avian influenza situation. So there's a housing order at the moment for all poultry in England. What does that mean for you as free range egg producers?
Basically, avian influenza, I can liken it to COVID, for instance. We are protecting our hens from a very virulent virus that can kill them within 24 hours. So it's really key that we keep a high standard of biosecurity, just protecting and nurturing our hens the best we possibly can.
How much upheaval does it cause when this happens nearly every winter of late, that free range egg producers, free range poultry producers have got to keep their birds indoors for the whole of the risk period?
It's a change. I mean, to be quite frank, some of the birds, on a nice frosty day, yes, hens will be outside, but in miserable weather, the hens are not daft. They're not going to go outside in filthy weather in any case. But I think having hens housed is just a slightly different mindset. The level of biosecurity, washing boots, disinfecting, just being so much more conscious of the whole process. It takes a lot more time, a lot more training of staff as well. So there are huge implications to the kind of change of each individual farmer's approach and culture of their business.
How high are the stakes? What could the financial and emotional consequences be if you had a unit that came down with avian flu?
It's absolutely soul destroying. I'm aware of several farmers who have gone through this awful process.
Because they all have to be cold.
They all have to be cold, and the emotional side of it is something that I don't think any farmer really comprehends until it actually happens. Then the business interruption, and then trying to clean, disinfect and restock that poultry unit, it takes so long and at huge cost as well. So and there are no guarantees that you won't get it again. So that the cost to the poultry sector is enormous, and to each individual business. So it's really, you know, to reiterate the need for biosecurity and keeping hens housed during winter months whilst this virus is out there and there isn't a vaccination in place, then this is something that is going to be happening every year.
Vaccination is a really tricky question, isn't it? Because there's a cost to it, and there is also a cost implication for the testing that there would have to be to monitor vaccinated chicken units to make sure that there weren't birds still coming down with avian flu being masked by the vaccination. Can you see a time when vaccination will have to be something that the UK egg industry thinks about?
Yeah, absolutely, and there are several countries that have already vaccinated very successfully. So I think it's only a matter of time, and I think it's building the knowledge, courage and trade security in order to make all of those things happen.
But as egg packers, do you always watch quite nervously what's happening in terms of the avian flu situation?
Yes, very much so. I mean, we based down here in the depths of the southwest have seen during the summer months quite a lot of wild birds go down with AI, or bird flu, so we have, it's never really gone away this year in particular, but it's a lottery as to where it's going to hit. So you can have a rough idea of a flight path, but at the end of the day, it is a real risk. So yeah, I think it takes a lot of confidence to stock a poultry unit at the moment, but the output of our amazing hens is second to none. You know, I think it's important we remain confident in what we do, but there is a massive business risk. Yeah.
On Your Farm with Bexton's of St. Hugh's Eggs was produced and presented by Sarah Swaddling. It was a BBC Audio Bristol production. We have a rare interview with the daughter of the pro-democracy Hong Kong tycoon Jimmy Lai. That's on Sunday. It's coming up at 7:10 after the news. Now though, let's take a look at the weather for the final Sunday of the year. There's Elizabeth Mazzini. Good morning.
Good morning, Neil. I suppose it is. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, no big changes actually for the rest of the year now. It does look mostly dry. It's going to be really rather cloudy. There will be some brighter skies at times, and it's certainly feeling cold, and it will be turning colder still as we head into the start of the new year. So high pressure is towards the northwest of Scotland, so we're drawing down a northeasterly wind again today. It won't be quite as windy as it was yesterday, but still a brisk northeasterly blowing. Now across Scotland then, it's quite a widespread frost actually this morning. A few patches of fog around as well. Where we do see the fog, then it's really tricky for it to lift and clear. It's really struggling at the moment. That's the time of year, of course. Early sunshine though for many parts of Scotland, also for Western England and for much of Wales and Northern Ireland. There will be some brightness and some sunshine here. It's looking dry. Best of the sunny skies towards the west, the east and the central areas of the UK. There's a lot of cloud around. Still got that onshore breeze as well for North Sea facing coast. Not quite as windy, as I said, as it was yesterday, so not quite as much added wind chill. The wind's always lighter towards the north. It's looking dry. Possibility of a few spots of drizzle just from the thickness of the cloud towards coastal areas in particular. Top temperatures 5 to 8 degrees Celsius. Could see perhaps a 9 in southern England, and where we've got some frost and fog, of course, shelter glens of Scotland, temperatures may not actually rise above freezing. Now tonight, we could just see a little bit of patchy light rain across parts of northern Scotland, southeast England, East Anglia dry with clear spells. For the rest of England, then it's looking rather cloudy. For western areas, some clearer skies here, where we do keep the clearer skies and air frost. Otherwise, probably a touch of ground frost for most, 1 to 4 degrees Celsius, and it's just more of the same again tomorrow. We've still got that northeasterly wind, areas of cloud, but some brighter skies at times, still feeling chilly. In 1.1 miles, keep right, then keep
Tell
left.
him who you really are. I am descended from the tribe of the Higgins. Quiet.
Opening Radio 4's Story of America, a collection of drama marking 250 years since the Declaration of Independence.
Should we distrust the man because his manners are not our manners, and that his skin is dark?
An inventive new adaptation of The Last of the Mohicans on Radio 4 and BBC Sounds.
We will get our revenge. War is not over yet.
Begins this afternoon at 3.
Keep right, then keep left.
BBC News at 7 o'clock on Sunday the 28th of December. Good morning, this is Chris Aldridge. President Zelensky and Donald Trump are to hold face-to-face talks on the latest proposals for peace with Russia. The Prime Minister has been criticised for welcoming a British-Egyptian human rights campaigner who's been linked to social media posts apparently calling for the killing of Zionists. Arina Sabalenka is taking on Nick Kyrgios, Battle of the Sexes tennis match in Dubai. President Trump will meet Ukraine's leader Volodymyr Zelensky in Florida today as attempts continue to reach a peace deal with Russia. They'll discuss territory and possible security guarantees during the face-to-face talks at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. Ahead of the meeting, European and NATO leaders expressed their full support for Ukraine. From Washington, here's our North American correspondent, Sean Dillon.
President Zelensky has indicated that he's happy with 90% of the latest proposed peace deal, but the future of the territory occupied by Russian troops and the nature of any security guarantees remain substantial sticking points. The two leaders are expected to explore whether a demilitarized zone or a free economic area could be set up in the Donbass region, meaning Russian and Ukrainian forces would need to withdraw from land the Kremlin wants Ukraine to give up. The US has already indicated that it could offer NATO-like security guarantees as part of the agreement. President Zelensky recently signalled for the first time that Ukraine could give up its ambitions to join NATO, a key Russian concern. He's also suggested that elections will be held in a few months, and the security of any vote could be guaranteed.
The Prime Minister has been criticised by the Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick for welcoming a British-Egyptian human rights campaigner back to the UK after historical social media messages emerged, apparently showing him calling for Zionists to be killed. Alaa Abdel Fattah returned to the UK on Friday, as our political correspondent Nick Hurley reports.
Alaa Abdel Fattah spent years in prison in Egypt, including on charges of spreading false news. His imprisonment led to criticism of human rights organisations, and successive UK governments, Conservative and Labour, lobbied for his release. But in his letter to the Prime Minister, Robert Jenrick points to historical social media posts which appear to show Mr al-Fattah endorsing the killing of Zionists. Mr al-Fattah is also accused by Mr Jenrick of saying the police don't have rights and we should kill them all. His family have been approached for comment. Mr Jenrick said the Prime Minister's message welcoming Mr al-Fattah to the UK amounted to a personal endorsement and was a serious error of judgment. Jewish groups have also criticised the Prime Minister's comments. The BBC understands the messages hadn't been brought to the attention of the Prime Minister until they were highlighted in recent days, and that the government considers them to be abhorrent. The Foreign Office said successive administrations had worked for Mr al-Fattah's release. A Labour source accused Mr Jenrick of trying to rewrite history for his own political advantage.
The government is imposing visa restrictions on the Democratic Republic of Congo for blocking measures allowing the return of illegal immigrants and criminals. Two other countries threatened with similar sanctions, Angola and Namibia, have agreed to take back citizens. A Home Office source said thousands of people could be removed and deported as a result. Here's our correspondent, Tom Simons.
The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood had threatened to impose visa restrictions on countries with poor returns records. The Home Office says cases have been frustrated, with paperwork not being processed or people being required to sign their own documents, in effect giving them a veto. Angola and Namibia have agreed to returns, but the Democratic Republic of Congo hasn't made changes, leading to the government's announcement of sanctions. Fast-track visa processes will no longer apply to people from the country, and VIPs and politicians coming to the UK won't get preferential treatment.
The daughter of the Hong Kong billionaire and pro-democracy campaigner Jimmy Lai, who is facing life in prison, says she fears her father may become a martyr. Earlier this month, the 78-year-old British citizen was found guilty of colluding with foreign forces under a controversial national security law. He's been in jail for 5 years and is expected to be sentenced in the new year. Speaking to Sunday, which is coming up next on Radio 4, Claire Lai said her father's health was failing.
My father was an extremely robust and strong man going in, but in the last year he's lost a significant amount of weight, and he has fingernails that turn purplish grey and sometimes fall off, and he just has a myriad of health issues that are just extremely worrying.
Voting is taking place in the opening phase of Myanmar's general election, the first since the military seized power in a coup nearly 5 years ago, triggering the country's devastating civil war. Critics say the election is neither free nor fair and won't be held in large parts of the country controlled by armed opposition groups. Research suggests that a mysterious force called dark energy, which drives the expansion of the universe, might be changing in a way that challenges our current understanding of time and space. Evidence from a huge telescope in Arizona this year first hinted that the force had changed. Then a South Korean study in November argued that dark energy was weakening so much that the expansion of the universe may already be slowing down. Professor Ofer Lahav from University College London is one of the astronomers involved and says he was shocked at the findings.
It's a very weird scenario. Now it is changing, dark energy going up and then down again. We need a mechanism. We are in search of a mechanism which could be a shake-up for the whole of physics. You know, maybe it connects quantum mechanics to gravity. So it's one of these things that you just never know. It may disappear or it may just get amplified and will be a whole new theory.
52 years after Billie Jean King beat Bobby Riggs in an era-defining Battle of the Sexes tennis match, the women's world #1 Aryna Sabalenka is taking on the Australian player Nick Kyrgios. Sabalenka said she was backing herself to come out on top in the exhibition match in Dubai. More from our sports correspondent, Joe Curry.
The tennis season may be officially over, but the last match of the year promises to be one of its most talked about. The clash between Aryna Sabalenka and the former men's Wimbledon runner-up, Nick Kyrgios, is likely to raise questions, but perhaps not deliver quality. The pair will play a 3-set match with modified rules. They'll have a 10-point deciding tiebreak if required, and only one serve per point. Some see the match as harmless entertainment that will attract a newer, younger audience. Others believe it's a misguided venture, and if Sabalenka loses, will create an opportunity for women's tennis to be belittled. Billie Jean King, who beat Bobby Riggs in the second Battle of the Sexes in 1973, says she hopes it'll be a great match, but that it's not the same as her era-defining event.
Joe Curry reporting. That's BBC News. Now we turn to the Sunday papers, and most of them look ahead to President Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky meeting in Florida to discuss the latest plan to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. The Observer says the two leaders are seeking a New Year's resolution. The paper also reports that Mr. Zelensky has said he's feeling hopeful. But the Sunday Mirror and the Sunday Express highlight intense Russian attacks on Kiev in the run-up to these talks. In its assessment, the Sunday Times says the peace process may be unlikely to succeed, but it goes on to say that even without a deal, the war may decline in tempo and intensity as exhaustion sets in. According to the Sunday Mirror, there's an appetite in Britain to follow Australia's lead and introduce a social media ban for under-16s. The paper has conducted a poll which says 64% of those surveyed support such a move. The government has previously said it would closely monitor the rollout of the policy in Australia. The Sunday Times highlights a new drug for severe asthma that only needs to be administered twice a year, which is due to be made available to British patients privately within months. Experts have said the drug has the power to transform lives. Existing treatments have to be taken every 2, 4 or 8 weeks. The paper says depemokimab, which has been developed by the pharmaceutical giant GSK, has also been found to reduce by 72% the number of asthma attacks that need treatment in hospital. The ice skating champions Jade Torville and Christopher Dean are due to be given a damehood and a knighthood at the King's New Year's honours, reports the Sun on Sunday. The pair, who won gold at the 1984 Winter Olympics, retired from performing together earlier this year. Photographs from the wedding of the Olympic swimmer Adam Peaty and Holly Ramsey at Bath Abbey feature in most of the papers. Both the Sunday Telegraph and the Sunday People say the couple have taken the plunge. The Sunday Express says the ceremony was swimming with stars, including Sir David Beckham. Many of the papers reflect on the emotional scenes at Anfield yesterday as football fans paid tribute to the late Diego Jota. It was the first time his two former sides, Liverpool and Wolves, had played each other since his death in a car crash in July. Two of his young children joined the matchday mascots on the pitch before their Premier League game. The Sun on Sunday notes that his widow was watching from the stands. They'll never walk alone, says the Daily Star. That's a look at the Sunday papers.
Chris Aldridge, many thanks indeed. Now on BBC Radio 4, it's 7:10, time for Sunday with Emily Buchanan.
Welcome to Sunday. We're hanging on to the Christmas spirit with our two best-known carol writers, Bob Chilcott and John Rutter. Here's Rutter's arrangement of O Tannenbaum.
Christmas carols are a form of folk art, really. I always feel privileged to just be adding one or two little new tiles to this mosaic.
We go back to 1999, the year when Christmas and Ramadan coincided, and a new piece of theatre exploring everyday life for Muslims in Britain, like shopping at Woolworths.
Well, he's had everything you could ever want all in one place. It's incredible. You make it sound like it's not there anymore.
And as we approach the end of 2025, we have the editors of two of our oldest church magazines surveying the shifting sands of religious journalism. If you have any comments, don't forget you can email us at sunday@bbc.co.uk, or you can text us on 84844. On Christmas Day, the US carried out airstrikes against alleged Islamic State-linked militants in Sokoto State, northwestern Nigeria. The targets were camps belonging to a group locally known as La Kurawa, which has ties to jihadist networks in Mali and Niger. Casualty figures remain unclear, but officials confirm some militants were killed. The operation was a joint effort between the US and Nigerian forces. The US framed the strikes as a response to IS attacks on Christians, while Nigerian officials emphasised that the operation was not religiously motivated. Well, joining us is Bulama Bukati, a Nigerian human rights
solo instruments over the years, the Deux Morceaux by Lily Boulanger, and that was the first of the two, a rich yet subtle nocturne played by the trumpeter Tina Ting-Halsett, accompanied by her all-female brass ensemble, 10 Fleet. Mentioned back at the climax of 2025. Back in 3 Sunday breakfast, but also looking forward to picking out a selection of the choice gems that have been released in the early part of next year, like this from the Ensemble Capella Agostino, who really love the music of Haydn. They launched the Holy Haydn Festival in Germany in 2002, and Haydn's music dominates their musical activities. Over the past 2 decades, they've performed most of his instrumental output, as well as oratorios, sacred works, and many of Haydn's operas. How they really know what they're doing. This is an advance single from their January release of Haydn's Symphony 102, which for many is the most powerful and interesting of all the London symphonies. Here's the opening movement, which features a slow introduction and then an explosion of boisterous brilliance.
miles. Keep right.
There is a theory, much loved by Haydn scholars, that symphony would be much more loved and performed if only it had a nickname. It's the only one of the last 5 symphonies not to. And the others that do? My goodness, your first military clock, drum roll, and London. That is the unnicknamed Symphony 102, Capella Agostino, with Andreas Sperry conducting. It's from a new album which is coming out on the 9th of January. We shall, yes, look forward, but we'll also look back. I've got more of my musical highlights of 2025 to come. And thank you, by the way, for yours, which are arriving into our inbox. 3 breakfast.
Continue 18 miles.
834. I should play that Haydn for Ian, poo-pooing my suggestion that this was a day for returning to bed with a cup of green tea. Texting, I just made a 50-mile journey from Worcester to South Gloucestershire to find a place at work. Well, now you're there, pause a moment and enjoy Schubert's elegant, poetic arabesque. Schumann's music played on Radio 3 quite loudly at Ashkenazi. This is Bob Fox. You're very welcome. It's Sunday Breakfast, just after 7:30. We have a focus this week on the New Generation Artist Scheme, which began in 1999, and I have one of the early recruits to the scheme playing the Beethoven String Quartet next.
BBC Radio 3, the home of classical music.
You know that moment when you're there and you listen to it and the oxygen's gone from the air? Those moments of musical connection mean more to me than anything.
When I was younger, music was my voice. I used this music as a way of telling people I'm alright.
Yeah, that was very dusty.
The home of classical music. This is BBC Radio 3.
quarter of a century ago. The Szymanowski Quartet, with us from 2001 to 2003, and there they were playing the expressive and elegant second movement from Beethoven's String Quartet.
Lightning.
To a huge success. This week, Radio 3's focus is on our current new generation artists who are earlier in their musical journey. We're calling it the NGA Winter Showcase, and across the week, Georgia Band will focus on the Astatine Trio, the pianist Julius Azal, Georgi Igishvili, also James Atkinson, Andrew Hamilton, and Santiago Sanchez will sing some newly rediscovered art songs from South America, and Georgia will have some new tracks from the 22-year-old UK jazz saxophonist Emma Ravitch. Those programmes we can hear here on Radio 3 and BBC Sounds Monday to Thursday at 6:15 p.m.
In 1.5 miles, exit left. Exit left.
Places like that.
Continue 8.7 miles. in 1.1 miles. Exit left, then keep left. Exit left, then keep left. Keep left. Continue 28 miles.
According to his sister Fanny, we will hear from him later. Felix Mendelssohn obsessed with all Shakespeare plays, though that one was on a higher pedestal than the rest. The Orchestra Champs-Élysées with Philippe Elavegi conducting. We're talking about highlights of 2025, both in our lives and musically. For Fran, it was hearing Stephen Huff play his piano concerto, The World of Yesterday, with the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra. For Colin, it was Train Tracks, that amazing celebratory train journey that Petrol took from Inverness to London, and the music played on the way to right. Personally, carols across the country, hit a wildlife park, first Sunday of Advent, it was -2. And then Prom's Countdown Day in July, the outpour was +31. And this release, Opus 109 from the Icelandic pianist Vikinga Ólafs. on a beautiful musicianship. That was Bach's Jig from the Partita number 6. It was played by Vikingur Olason from his Opus 109 album, came out last year. This takes Beethoven's Piano Sonata number 30, Opus 109, and frames it with music from Bach and Schubert. Some highlights. Now, who needs a just before 8 o'clock alarm clock when Radio 3 Breakfast can always be relied upon to provide a countertenor to welcome a new day? Certainly when I'm here, enjoy this one from the Ushers Valdez 6 with a soaring line high above his colleagues at a motet that transports us to Christmas in Renaissance France. Angela in London, who emailed freebreakfast@bbc.co.uk wanting more Christmas music. That motet, The Virgin Mary, played for you. Les Siennes Moires, music of Antoine de Févin, signed by the Gesualdo Six. Coming up, more looking forward into 2026 and some of the new releases for January, as well as a celebration of my favourite releases of 2025, and a bright and spirited Mozart half an hour awaits. The latest BBC News on Radio 3 at 8 o'clock with Linda Hardy.
President Trump will meet Ukraine's leader Volodymyr Zelensky in Florida today as attempts continue to reach a peace deal with Russia. They'll discuss disagreements on territory and possible security guarantees during the face-to-face talks at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. From Washington, here's our North America correspondent Sean Dilley.
The two leaders are expected to explore whether a demilitarized zone or a free economic area could be set up in the Donbass region, meaning Russian and Ukrainian forces would need to withdraw from land the Kremlin wants Ukraine to give up. The US has already indicated that it could offer NATO-like security guarantees as part of the agreement. President Zelensky recently signalled for the first time that Ukraine could give up its ambitions to join NATO, a key Russian concern. He's also suggested that elections could be held within a few months, if the security of any vote could be guaranteed.
The Prime Minister has been criticised by the Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick for welcoming a British-Egyptian human rights campaigner back to the UK after historical social media messages emerged, apparently calling for Zionists to be killed. Alaa Abd El Fattah returned to the UK on Friday after receiving a presidential pardon in Egypt. The BBC understands the posts were not brought to the Prime Minister's attention until they resurfaced in recent days, and the government views them as abhorrent. Two African nations have agreed to increase cooperation in taking back their citizens who have been deported from the UK after the Home Secretary warned of potential visa restrictions. The government said Angola and Namibia had previously hindered the returns process. Visa limits will now be applied to the Democratic Republic of Congo, which officials say has not met the Commonwealth standards. Voting has begun in Myanmar in the initial phase of the general election, the first since the military seized power in a coup nearly 5 years ago, sparking a devastating civil conflict. Critics argue the election is neither free nor fair and note that voting will not take place in large areas controlled by armed opposition groups. 52 years after Billie Jean King beat Bobby Riggs in an era-defining Battle of the Sexes tennis match, the women's world #1 Aryna Sabalenka is taking on the Australian player Nick Kyrgios. Sabalenka said she was backing herself to come out on top in the exhibition match in Dubai. Sports journalist Heather Dewar says the latest event isn't likely to do much to promote the women's game.
Why pit yourself against a bloke who's very likely to win? Because it really helps the cause if you're actively promoting an event as something that will help the women's game. Does actually do that. It is an extravagant glamour time, no real meaning to it other than a bit of entertainment, which will get large viewing figures and it will reap in tons of cash. And if Kyrgios wins, as he's expected to, will be no surprise. If Sabalenka wins, does it really progress the women's game? I'm not sure.
And the weather. Chilly and cloudy today for most of the UK. Scotland will see wintry sunshine along with some fog patches in the north. Later on, southeast England may see some late brightness too. Top temperatures of 9 Celsius in London, 7 in Cardiff, 6 in Belfast, and 5 in Edinburgh. That's the BBC News and weather at 3 minutes past 8.
Thank you, Linda. The sun is breaking through here over the Radio 3 studios in Salford. It's Mark Forrest. We're taking Sunday breakfast with Mozart in 18th century Vienna. So it will probably be yesterday's leftover bread, some milk, and if you can afford it, coffee. And he would have probably been writing the whole time he was eating.
Purity law. He's been in jail for 5 years and is expected to be sentenced in the new year. Claire Lai told Sunday here on Radio 4 that her father had been robust and strong, but that had changed in the past year.
He's diabetic, he has heart issues, which he never had in the past. He has much higher blood pressure despite taking blood pressure medication. He has teeth that are rotting, he has back and waist pains, and some days it's painful for him to stand, and some days he can't even get out of bed.
Myanmar Myanmar is holding its first election since the military seized power nearly 5 years ago. The poll has been widely condemned as neither free nor fair. Our Southeast Asia correspondent Jonathan Head is in the city of Mandalay and sent this report.
There's a sullen mood of resignation in Mandalay, a city where support for the ousted democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi has always been strong. Her National League for Democracy, which won more than 80% of seats in the last election 5 years ago, has been dissolved. She and other NLD leaders are in prison. The military zone.
tell you how immersed I've been in the music of Mozart. And for Christmas, I've watched all 5 episodes of the new TV adaptation of Amadeus, telling the story of Wolfgang's final years in Vienna, his relationship with his father Leopold and his wife Constanze, and of course the Viennese court composer Salieri, who may or may not have played a part in his early death at the age of 34. Have you seen it yet? Because I'd like to talk about it with you, but don't want to share spoilers. So that's it for now. Do catch up. That was one of my favourite releases of 2025 from the Baroque and classical music specialists Il Pomodoro. They're working their way through all Mozart symphonies. This disc is of 35 and 36, a half-minute minutes, and that was the bold and energetic opening movement, number 35, a half minute. Maximilian Gardichev is there. So not only non-stop Mozart on the telly, in the car last night, opera on 3, Mozart's Così fan tutte from La Scala in Milan. It was sensational, and if you missed it, please catch up via BBC Sounds. composer Takashi Yoshimatsu describes that as a kind of pastoral toy symphony, a mixture of children playing and a celebration of nature and the new life offered by the punch of spring. This is the fourth symphony, the fourth movement finale. The BBC Philharmonic Orchestra was conducted by Sachio Fujioka on BBC Radio 3. This is Mark Forrest, just after 8:15. You're very welcome. It's the Sunday between Christmas and New Year, our last Sunday breakfast. So things do fill your time. It's probably a good time to make a list of who gave you what over the festive season so that you can either write and thank them or do what's appropriate when you meet them in person. Bit of advice, if you are thinking of regifting that rubbish scarf that just isn't in your colour, or the scented candle that smells like a wet dog when you light it, then you will need an Excel spreadsheet to record all relevant details. So you can avoid regifting not only to the individual, but also their families,
exit
social
left,
circle.
then keep
And if that
right.
sounds like way too much effort, the visit to a local charity shop and as much potentially less embarrassing. This is brand new, or will be when it's released next year, from the pianist Claire Wanksy.
Exit left, then keep right. January from the pianist Claire Wanksy. She calls it Piano Heroines and celebrates female composers, acknowledging just how difficult it was for them to fill their dreams. Music by Clara Schumann, Amy Beach, Florence Price, and there Fanny Hensel, who composed largely in private, often had to publish under her brother's name, Mendelssohn. With wonderful understatement, she described Das Continue 18 miles.
Year as a small work that is giving me much fun. It's huge, it's substantial, it's over 50 minutes of music, and from it, number 5, May, thrillingly, a celebration of spring. Towards the end of next month. A groundbreaking female conductor is one of the musicians interviewed by the writer and journalist Norman Lebrecht that you can hear over the next few days. These programmes are at 9:15 in the evening. Marin Alsop is the conductor. She'll be featured on New Year's Day. There's also room for the soprano Dame Kirita Carnaway, the conductor Leonard Slatkin, and the tenor Jonas Kaufman. 9:15 if you want to listen to them as they go out on Radio 3 or thereafter on BBC Sounds. string quartet before finding itself part of the string quintet, as well as this standalone work. Some version for string orchestra featured the strings of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra conducted by Barry Wilson. This is not the first, it's basically the Radio 3 Sunday Breakfast, almost exactly 8:30. Looking at the newspapers today, they're a bit thin. Lots of front page coverage for the wedding of the Olympic gold medal winning swimmer Adam Peaty to Holly Ramsey, daughter of the chef Gordon Ramsay. Inside the papers, while we're looking ahead to 2026, lots of must-see exhibition, which will be the arrival of the biotapestry at the British Museum, not seen in this country since it was created in the 11th century. Big story for the papers is the cost of insurance, a mere £800 million. Looking ahead to Radio 3 at lunchtime, Michael Barkley welcomes the actor and writer Ruby Evans, whose musical passions include Handel, Ursula, Mahler and Wagner.
of the way.
In 1.1 miles, keep right.
Roundabout. Ooh.
Keep right. Continue 16 miles.
train trip, March 1862, clearly undisturbed. Noise cancelling headphones, not an option for the park. Prelude from Master Singers of Nuremberg, Christian Tingle. 2025 was a year of musical comebacks, and the Pulp frontman Jarvis Cocker will take a big run through these on BBC House at 9 on Radio 4, and in suggestion 2026 should be more of a rolling stops to interviews on the summer. Here on BBC Radio 3, Sarah Walker has a cheerful Christmas-type chorus from Bill Williams to share with you, as well as Sunshine for a reflection on wintry times this year.
Highlights for
The Test Match Special Podcast. This is going to be the focus of some pretty serious hard-nosed cricket over the next few days.
This will be his 100th playing show England's finest. It's too low to get the heading. This is whoosh. Sorry, that's a great sorry.
Listen to the TMS podcast every day of the Ashes with BBC Sounds.
Shakespearean, and words from a poem by Emily Dickinson with 4 snippets of the delightful festive carol from Yorkshire. Matthew Berry will be done to Bob's 70th this year, and we'll celebrate that along with the 80th birthday of John Rutter. And this afternoon's Corey Newman song from Singleton feels so many amazing musical highlights from today. Andrew on email making the trip to Oxford to hear what was effectively Vicky Garabas's whole album, this 109, which shows played live in the remarkable region of Red Bradley and Oxford. Ian and Garth at Apple Park, the 29th of July, featuring Kim Ricky, Marlowe for Ode Avenue, mesmerising, spellbinding, uplifting, and
in 1.1 miles. Exit left, then enter roundabout.
Expressive but not overly sentimental country song. The first of Holt's two songs without words and romancing the world. This is some of the kickstarting job like Kavalevsky. The plots about a sculpture at Ducal Dubois played, but all really need to know is that the overture is lively, upbeat, and the perfect soundtrack for this.
Exit left, then enter roundabout. Enter roundabout, then take first exit. Enter roundabout, then take second exit. Continue 6.3 miles.
In
Whether it's a busy
0.8
day for
miles,
you,
enter
just chilling
roundabout,
out,
then take first exit.
on the 28th of December. Well, looking ahead to it's always a pleasure to check in with your private passions. They always have the greatest music selection. This week, Michael's guest is the actor Peter Everett, who shot to fame in 1984 as a dashing lyric schoolboy in the film Country. So he'll be chatting about his defiantly unpredictable career, stage roles in the West End, Broadway, directing, writing, and of course, he'll be sharing his favourite music. And here's a composer who's very close to Rose Everett's heart. He played the role of Antonio Salieri back in 2014 in Peter Shaffer's play Amadeus at the Chichester Festival Theatre. So, by that forever overshadowed classical composer Salieri, here's an elegant Sinfonia
Nearest roundabout. Right again.
Enter roundabout, then take first exit. In 0.2 miles, turn right, then arrive at destination on right.
Is it this one or is it that one?
Turn right.
Up here somewhere. Look round before you get to the junction. And don't be surprised when there's a car in the middle of it. This side or that side? That side. Welcome to Pickering Station.